led to film and stage roles. Now, the release of his first solo album in 6 years, Black Tie, White Noise, supports his legacy as an innovator. The diverse album features 2 wedding songs inspired by his 1992 marriage to model actress Iman. When we spoke with the ageless entertainer at the Peninsula Beverly Hills, he was elegance personified. Now, the last time I talked to you, since then, you have become a married man again. And how's that treating you?
Well, I wonder how I'm treating it. It's treating me just fabulously. I think it's a very good idea for me, and I hope it's a good idea for her mum.
And so she agrees with you, obviously.
You have to ask her. I think you'll find there's an acknowledgement there. Certain solidarity and sort of fitting into a new style of living is real interesting for me.
Because there's that, it's like a conformity almost, like a...
It's not that so much as when we first met, I realized how much my workload is enormous, and that I tend to work obsessively on what I do, projects and musics and whatever. And it's really been a question of finding a balance between our real life together and the work that I do. So that's been a whole kind of reevaluation for me. It's been interesting.
And you guys exchanged vows twice.
Yeah.
And once in the civil ceremony in Switzerland in April, and then you got married, or exchanged vows again in June.
June the 6th. Yeah.
There you go. He knows the date. I love this.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when's the anniversary, though?
We'll take it as June the 6th, but we do kind of every 14th of the month. We kind of have a mini anniversary because we met on the 14th of October.
Oh, every month?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Just
sweet.
a nice dinner and a flower.
Oh, that's sweet. Do you cook?
No, fortunately she does.
Oh, good.
Incredibly well.
Good. Now, this is something else we talked about the last time, and some folks out there are wondering because they're like, okay, now he got married to Iman, and you said last time we talked about bisexuality, trisexuality, as you introduced me to, meaning I'll try anything. You told me that. So...
No, I did used to.
Right.
Yes.
Used to. That's over.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Do you remember the first time you had sex anyway?
Oh, Lord, it was back in 1435.
God, you look great. But, you know, these are days that you talk to your kids. You know, I know what, your son, he's about 21 or something, so
yeah.
he's, but then now you have a stepdaughter.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a parent, what do you say to your children?
I mean, if you want to look at those things, I was experimenting when I was a kid. And I think that in those days there was a whole different set of values. Whether they were positive or negative is, I guess, undecided. But what was happening then was done in an air of freedom. I think that the big problem for kids these days is that they might feel that they are no longer allowed to experiment, or if they feel that they have an orientation towards a certain way, that they daren't say that that's their orientation because they may be branded or victimized because of that. And I think it's a very, psychologically, a very dangerous period for them. And I think the onslaught at the moment of the whole wave of terror and fear because of AIDS is bringing about a very repressive and right-wing attitude society. And I think it's very scary for kids right now, for them to not know how they must orientate themselves, if they must be unnatural and fake their orientation.
It's interesting. And speaking of children, though, are there any truth to the rumors, or is there any truth to the rumors that you and Iman are planning to adopt a child in Somalia?
I hadn't heard that.
You haven't heard that?
No, we're both our own children.
Oh, is that fun?
We shouldn't discuss that now, but...
This is good. So
there's a lot of literature on that, I think.
This is good, though. So Iman's not saying, oh, the figure's here and I don't want to mess it up?
She's not like that at all. No. She's not that kind of person.
Good. And, of course, you want the healthy baby, but if you had your way, would you have a girl or a boy?
It really is totally immaterial to me. I have no preferences at all.
Good. And this is something you want to do coming up soon, or?
It's not like a project.
Right. Well, you know, these days, because you have your career and she has her career as well.
No, as I say, the careers are really taking a back seat. I mean, it really is, for us, I think it's very important for us to spend as much time as we can with each other, which is what we're doing. And, for instance, I'm not touring this album because it's the last thing to do is to get married and then go on tour for 10 months. I think that would be absolutely ruinous.
You guys went skiing recently, huh?
Yes, we did, yeah.
And so who's the better skier?
I think I'm probably the better skier, but I think she's probably got as much courage, if not more, than me. Nothing puts her off. She would take anything.
I believe that too, because one thing Iman told me, she goes, honey, you take your attributes and you sell them. And what you don't like about yourself, you just simply camouflage it. So
I've never heard her say honey.
well, you know, it was a girlfriend thing kind of thing, you know? So I tell you what, though, because when we come back, I want to talk about the wedding songs on the new album.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So David and I are going to come back and we're going to talk about the wedding songs.
We're going to talk about the wedding songs as soon as we come back.
Don't go away. See ya.
Tonight on E!
Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with David Bowie. David Bowie's new album, Black Tie, White Noise, addresses the divisions of races. Say you are breaking new musical ground on this new album in that there's so many different musical influences that you're using.
Not for me, particularly. I think, in fact, it's something that I worked on a lot during the late 70s. I think it ranges through American music, from American rhythm and blues, American dance, through to European sensibility on the melody lines. And by virtue of the fact that I wrote the music initially for the church, at least 3 pieces on the album, because Iman's family is Muslim, and you probably heard this before. Nice Protestant. And the church that we got married in Florence was a Catholic church. So really to make everybody comfortable, both Iman's family, my family, and the church themselves, I had to write something that suited everybody. And again, by virtue of the fact that Iman's family, one of their major languages is Arabic, I guess that was a feel that came through in the music. So, I mean, it really became a sort of a stew of different cultures.
A nice gumbo.
Yeah, gumbo.
But Don't Let Me Down and Down,
yeah.
You were telling me when you first heard that song.
It was a CD that I think a member of Iman's family had sent to her, and it was just lying around the apartment when we first met, and there was this one song on there that we both really liked, and it just worked its way. Every track on the album has some personal affinity. I think it's probably the most representative of my own sort of immediate life of any album that I've made.
And of course there's the wedding song.
The wedding song was, well, after all the positive and negative aspects of relationships that I kind of go through on the album, I wanted it to end on an up note, so this is particularly melodramatic and saccharine song, which is, it's got gossamer wings and angels and clouds, and it was called The Wedding Cake when I first wrote it, because it felt like it had a couple on top, and it was, you know, I thought that was too silly. But so it has a kind of a positive note at the end.
That's good.
It's the only way it has to for my relationship, anyway.
That's good. Let's talk about the title track, Black Tie, White Noise,
yeah.
Did with Albie Shore.
Yeah.
Now, I understand it's your perspective on the divisiveness in the black and white society.
Yeah.
Is there an agenda with that song?
I guess it was my first impressions having... Iman and I came back to LA the day the riots started, and we were here through the duration of them. And it was I guess the actuality of what was happening and the numbing effect that it had for, I think, everybody in the community. And it was just brings sharply into focus for me the fact that there is no helping, however wet liberal it is, there is no real helping white hand in America, and it's not going to appear. And I think the strides that are being made by the black community very much are by their own muscle, their own force and their own vision, and it will continue that way. But as in any revolution, there's never any revolution without blood and violence. It will happen. It doesn't mean there's not going to be a positive outcome, but it's not going to be a simple, immediate overnight integration.
I'm going to switch gears for a second here and just talk about the fact that you were back in the studio for the first time in 6 years. For your
As a
solo
solo
career,
artist,
right?
yeah.
Your solo
Yeah.
tune. And okay, are you a slave master in the studio?
No, I think I'm very accommodating. I hope that I'm a lot of fun to work with, because I do try and give every musician who's working with me as much scope and as freedom to experiment within the parameters of what I want to do. And I think probably I know some of the musicians I work with feel they've had some of their best musical times in the studio if they're working with me, because I encourage them to do something they probably wouldn't do if they weren't working with me. I'll tell them, somebody plays real heavy jazz or something, I'll say, play like B.B. King, just for this one time, see what happens, and they try it, and it's great. And if I see somebody excited by their own musical abilities and doing something, they shock themselves, they come across something within themselves they didn't know they had. Then it kind of excites me. Yeah, it's great. And then it kind of accelerates and ideas come thick and fast.
I want to talk about that when we come back, just in terms of the personal Bowie, pushing the limit and sort of challenging yourself as a person, and striving for personal perfection. How about that? So we're going to tell them.
Sounds good.
Okay, we're going to come back. You can tell them don't go away.
Please don't go away. Again, yet again.
Coming up tonight on The Big Show.
Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with David Bowie. Talking about allowing the musicians in the studio to sort of push the envelope or, explore different musical avenues that they may have not before.
Like playing the wrong instruments.
There you go.
We did that before in the 70s when I was working with Brian Eno. One of the things that we found a lot of fun was because each musician, doesn't matter how professional he is, always wanted to play another instrument, really. The guitar player always wanted to be a drummer. So when he plays the drums, he plays like it's the first time he's ever touched them, and he plays with this incredible enthusiasm. So sometimes we switch the musicians around to the instruments they're not supposed to be playing, and you get a new kind of didn't always work out, but you get a new take on everything, and you get a kind of a degree of excitement that you wouldn't otherwise get.
So now I'm going to assume that you are professionally a perfectionist.
No, I'm really shoddy.
Really?
Yeah. I'd much rather go for a take that has a million mistakes in it than go for one which is note perfect. I'm really not into virtuosity and the perfection of playing and all that. I really just need a sense of the organic enthusiasm and a real verve in the playing. And that's majority of the takes that I put out on any album that I make contain a lot of mistakes, but they're the right mistakes because they've got a lot of kind of, cheer about them.
I like that. I like that.
Cheeriness.
But now, what about personally, though? Because here you are with this great suit.
A lot of mistakes.
From Mr. C.S., whoever he may be.
Mr. C.S. Poor Mr. C.S.
Yes, suit. We got to tell them the story. 1948?
1948, yeah.
Original.
Yep.
Great. But, personally, you always look so nice.
I knew I was going to be with you.
Well, I can understand.
So I had to dress down.
Dress down for me. Yeah. Oh, this is dressed down?
Yeah. I didn't want to put on the gold lame.
Oh, well, you could have. But do you strive for personal perfection at all?
God, no. Balance.
Yeah.
I think. In what do you mean in everyday life?
Yeah, just.
No, it's not. Perfection we can do without with. I think it's for me it's just finding myself not wandering off into extremes, but just to keep a focus on every day and get the balance of that day harmoniously and positively. It's really the object of living through each day for me, anyway.
I want to go back in time for a minute, if I could, and talk about your childhood. And now, did you grow up with your half-brother Terry?
No, I didn't. He was really part of my life. He was more of a mythological image in my mind. It was somebody upon whom I placed an awful lot. In a positive way, what he did for me is that he was a great reader and a discoverer of things, and he had an inherent love of jazz, and he was a great reader. And I think at a very early age, one of the major things that he did encourage me to do was to diversify in what I read and what I listened to, and not be stuck with just the kinds of books that you get to read at school. So I was reading, because of his influence, the American beat authors and James Baldwin and Jack Kerouac and Ferlinghetti and all those things when I was really young. You know, and I think that was a great influence on me, because it just never stopped me. I mean, if there's one great thing that happened to my life, it was realizing the value and the power of books to change one's life. So I guess in a way it caused me to kind of become self-educated more than anything else. But it left me with an undying love of reading. Obsessively sometimes.
It's good, yeah.
I can drop out of reality, you know, yeah. I can be a real pain.
Sometimes you have like 4 or 5 books going, you know.
Yeah,
in this room you have this one, here you have the other one.
It's not good. It's not good.
You went to an art school.
I went to a school. Well, it was interesting. What it was a technical college, which for its time, I was only 11, 12, when I was already taking art as a vocation, because it was one of the first schools in England that had an art course from the age of 11 or 12, which again was opened me up to so many different avenues. I was very lucky in that way.
Yeah, I also find it interesting because
Peter Frampton Peter Frampton, the guitar player, was about 2 years down from me, and his father was my art master.
Wow, do you think that
Which is kind of too cute, isn't it?
Right. You think that has anything to do with your having become an entertainer?
No. In fact, Mr. Frampton Sr. was really teed off with me most of the time, because I just knew that from 8 or 9, I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be in Little Richard's band.
There you go.
That was it.
He knew.
I wanted to be the sax player.
Okay, so you were taught by Peter Frampton's father, you worked with John Lennon, and we're going to talk about musical legends when we come back. So it's time for popcorn or whatever, but come right back.
Popcorn, please.
This Sunday on the Howard... Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up, E's half-hour interview show with David Bowie. You co-wrote Fame with John Lennon.
Yeah.
Did you realize at the time what an impact he would have, or had?
He'd already had
Right.
an impact on me as a writer. I guess the old cliche of everybody has their favorite Beatle, you know. And Lennon I really dug. I thought his writing was really strong, muscular, it was exacting and very focused. And we hit it off very well. I mean, we didn't have, I think we had a sense of humor in common. Other than that, obviously, we came from different places. And it was just a joy to work with him in the studio that one time. It was like every British kid's dream, in a way. And indeed, of course, it was an extraordinary thing that happened to him. And I think it left a huge hole.
Now, you and Elvis have something in common, the same birthday. Is that...
Do you know, I never knew that.
Well, my next question is, does it matter to you?
Is that true?
I guess it doesn't. You know what?
Because I was going to say, I haven't seen any stamps on me.
You know, in fact, I was just going to say that I'm ordering some. I'm having them made up right as we speak.
That's great.
So your face will be on everybody's letters.
Yeah, we share a birthday. We shared a birthday.
Right.
So what?
Yeah, right? Okay.
No,
that's fine. That's fine. You know, everybody else goes crazy about Elvis. I figured, well, okay, they share a birthday. Let's see what...
Early period Elvis. I learned some of the early stuff. But really, I mean, it was... I guess the 3 early rock people were Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and to a certain extent, Jerry Lee Lewis. So like those kind of guys.
All right, so we're talking about...
John Lee Hooker, I used to learn.
Okay, these are all legends, all right?
Yeah.
Now, to many people, though, you are a living legend. How do you feel about that?
Living, walking... Oh, come on.
No, man.
You can't be serious.
You're not going to...
No, I don't buy into all that thing at all.
Not at all.
It's so tenuous and unsubstantial, and it's vacuous, and it means absolutely nothing.
That's a nice answer. And you know what? I'm not surprised you said that. That's good, because you're a grounded person, you know. I mean, you've lived life. It's like, it's like, hey, I'm not going to buy all that. I don't care about it. Hey, life's good, right?
Maybe the electricity's gone.
Guess what?
What?
It's time for us to go.
It was so nice to see you again.
I know. Nice seeing you again, and maybe we'll have sushi or something.
And we know where to go, don't we?
Oh, of course we do.
Can we tell?
No.
Oh,
Should we?
No, we shouldn't.
We can't.
No,
Bye.
Just our secret.
They're saying bye to you.
Next, it's another classic edition of the Smothers Brothers with guest Mason Williams and the Jefferson Airplane. Dig it.